Alicia here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the books I plan to read in the month of April. Yo! So, fun fact about me is that I am a mood reader. So making a TBR is incredibly difficult. However, I'm also a dumb idiot who buys a million books, so I've got to come up with some sort of plan to make sure that I'm actually reading and prioritizing the books that I already have on my shelf. So every month I have a game that is basically called the D20 Challenge, where I roll one of the 1 million D&D D20s that I have around the house, and then I have a prompt associated with each of the 20 numbers. So full disclaimer, this is not an original idea. I did not come up with this on my own. I have seen prompts similar to this floating around YouTube and BookTube, so I just took the idea and just added in some of my own prompts, so I take no credit whatsoever for the D20 book reading challenge, but I have implemented it. I have been using it since the beginning of the year, and every month I have actually been successful in reading the books that I have put on it. So it's working for me. So the way the D20 challenge works is I will roll the dice 3 times in a month and then read whatever book is associated with the prompts that I get. I can usually read more than 3 books, but if I have too much restriction on what I can read, I won't read it all. So I feel like 3 has been working for me in terms of the amount of books required of me, and there's also a lot of flexibility within the prompts as well. So I usually get 3 that I'm told to read, and then the rest are all things that I kind of want to read on the go, although there are also a few other books that I would like to get in this month. Because this is the first time I have done this, I will go through quickly each of the 20 prompts, and then maybe I'll list them in the section below, so that if I do this each month, we can just come back to this video. So I've got all of the prompts listed on my little journal here, so I will go through these very quickly. I'm just going to read off of this sheet here, so don't mind me. If I roll a 1, I have to add another book to my TBR. So instead of picking 3 books, I have to pick 4, which is fine. I'll read that anyways. If I roll a 2, it is a long read, so more than 400 pages. 3, it's a book that's been on my shelf for a long ass time. 4, it's an intimidating read or a book out of my comfort zone. 5, roll the D4 and then pick a book from that corresponding shelf. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves here. So if I roll 1, 2, 3, 4, I can just pick any book that's on one of those shelves. So that gives me quite a bit of flexibility. 6, most recently acquired. 7, nonfiction. 8, short read, less than 250 pages. 9, Josh, my partner. He picks it. He'll pick. I'll make him pick the book off the shelf. 10 is the TBR STAR JAR. So prior to the D20 challenge, I had another idea that I borrowed from other booktubers, which is the TBR STAR JAR. So I have in this box, in this nice heart box, every unread book is like in a star. There is a chance that I have read some of the books in here because I don't go through it every time and pull out the ones that I have read. So if I do get one that I've read, I'll just pick a different one. These are organized by color. So orange is horror, green is thriller, purple is fantasy, yellow is sci-fi, pink is nonfiction, and blue is just miscellaneous other books. So if I roll a 10, I'll pick one of these out live on the little film. We'll go with that. We'll go with that one. So that's like the most is like up to chance on that one. 11, I get a letter generator out of my phone, and I just pick a random letter from A to Z, and then with whatever letter I get, I will pick a book or an author's name that starts with that letter. 12 is a new to me author. 13 is a sequel or continuation in a series. 14 is own voices or diverse representation. 15, horror. 16 is a repeat author or an author that I really liked. 17 is a 5-star prediction. 18 is another pick from the TBR STAR JAR. Got two little options in there. 19 is not a conventional novel, so that could be a graphic novel, short story collection, comic book, cookbook. 20 is my most anticipated book, so that's just like rolling a critical hit. Just pick the one that I just want to read the most. And I feel like that is how I should always be reading, but it's not. I covet like unread books. There's something like really weird about it where I want to read it so bad, but I also, the like anticipation of reading the book is greater than the process of actually reading it. So there are so many books just sitting here that I really want to read, but then I pass over them, and it's a problem. It's a problem, and it's just going to be that way. So now let's get into those rolls. With my first roll, I rolled an 11, which on the prompt is to pick a random letter from A to Z, and then pick a author or a book title that's associated with that letter. So I'm going to open a random letter generator on my phone, and I'm going to try and film it and put it up on the screen, so future will tell if that is a success. And we are gonna, so P is what's already in there, and I'm just gonna hit the random letter generator, so that's an O. So we got an O. So with my first prompt of the letter O, I will be reading Other Voices, Other Tones, which is a horror anthology collection edited by Brell and Sullivan. This anthology collects new stories from the minds of horror's most fiendish. It's got a few authors that I am familiar with, like Keelan Patrick Burke, Anya Alborn. I read The Devil Crept In by Anya Alborn last year, and it was like one of my favorite books ever of all time. It was so scary. And Cameron Chaney, who is a booktuber, which is awesome. And Gemma Amor. I read Dear Laura by Gemma Amor late last year, and that was also an exceptional book. So because I am still like very much in the mood for short stories, horror, both of those things combined, I will be reading Other Voices, Other Tones. Now on to roll number 2. Yay! With my second roll, I got a 10, which is the TBR STAR JAR. So I will be picking a star out of this box. So we'll give it a good little shake, and then I'll just pick something at random. We got an orange little star, which corresponds to a horror, so I'm super cool with that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and attempt to unwrap this on camera. I always like assemble these things without remembering that I have to undo them at some point, so they're a little crunched up in there, but just, oh, there we go. We're getting it. So, for my second book that I will be, oh god, this is probably excruciating for you, I'm sorry. For my second book, I will be reading Headhunter by Michael Slade. Headhunter. This is a paperback horror from 1986 that I found secondhand. I had no idea what it was about when I saw it, but I saw it and I was just like, yep, that's your girl's brand. So, Headhunter, I'll just read the back and we'll just do a little story time that way. It began with horror, then it got worse. There were still traces of extraordinary beauty in the woman's brutally violated body, but there was no way of knowing how beautiful she had been. Her head was missing. She was the first, but there were more to come. Many more. A killer was loose, and no woman was safe. A killer who eluded even renowned Detective Robert de Klerk. De Klerk? As he and the police combed the lower depths of the sexual underground on 2 continents, a killer whose lust for women, whether they were bad or good, went beyond even twisted sex and hideous death. So, yeah. So, I'll be reading Headhunter. We'll see how it goes. Could be good, could be bad, could be great, could be horrible. I'll be the judge. Now, on to my final roll. So with my third roll, we got a 6, which is my most recently acquired book. So in my monthly journaling of like the books that I have and the books that I read, I keep a little tally of like the books that I bought. So I can just go to this list and then see what my most recently acquired book was, which was Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. So I picked up Summer of Night secondhand for 2 reasons. One, because I love Dan Simmons. I've only ever read science fiction Dan Simmons before. I've read Ilium, Olympus, and the Hyperion series. I had never actually read horror by him, but I love horror, and additionally, the plot of this book is like kind of follows one of my favorite horror tropes, which is like kids fighting pure evil. So kind of like that like Stranger Things vibe. That is one of my favorite horror tropes. So Summer of Night seems to be following 5 boys in 1960s Illinois, and they are like out riding their bikes, like doing their thing, doing their little summer hangs, doing like boys will be boys. And then there is a like a heinous evil that comes to the town, as far as I can tell. Evil rising from coffins. So I love his books and I love his writing, but he also is really infamous for having like books that have 75% like extremely exceptional build-up and then just like a dog shit ending. So we'll see. This book looks like it's about 700 pages, so I'm gonna do it. I want to do it, but we'll see if Dan do us dirty. So those were my 3 rolls. In addition to those 3 D20 rolls, there are like a few other books that I do want to prioritize this month. So maybe I'll just list those here, and if I get to them, great. If I don't, no worries. I'll get to them in the future, maybe. One of them is Sweet Bean Paste by Dorian Tsukagawa. This is a Japanese literary fiction story. I originally learned about this book through BookTube, and I bought it for a friend for Christmas, and then I just also really wanted to read it myself, so I took it out of the library. This appears to follow a man who's like down on his luck. His like life isn't going the way that he wants, and he kind of just spends his time drinking and hanging out in a restaurant that makes, like a shop that makes dorayaki, which is like a pancake filled with sweet bean paste. And then he meets this old woman who like makes the best sweet bean paste in the land, like forever. And so apparently it's just like a beautiful little tale of like friendship, like overcoming your obstacles and life. And I'm picturing this to be like just like a quiet little like almost ASMR like story, which that's what we all need. That's what we all need in this year 2020. The next book that I would like to prioritize this in April is called Last Days by Brian Evenson. I have never read Brian Evenson before, but I have heard a lot of great things about his work. And from what I can tell, Last Days appears to be about a detective that goes undercover into a like religious amputation cult. That's their thing, and that's what they do. And he's going undercover into this cult. I am expecting this to be grim and horrific, and including some amputation. But also, I'm kind of expecting it to be a little funny and one of those like dark, funny ones. It's kind of a short read. So when I'm feeling a little ghoulish, I might sneak this one in. And finally, the last book that I really would like to get in this month is called The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. This is another one that I am expecting to be an extremely charming, nice, light, feel good, possibly gonna make me cry story. Traveling Cat Chronicles follows a cat named Nana, and Nana is hanging out with an old man, Satoru, and they take to the road on a journey with no other purpose than to visit 3 of Satoru's longtime friends. A little journey with Nana and Satoru. Have a little feel, have a little cry, have a little hang. Traveling Cat Chronicles. Want to get to that too. So that's that. This is my April TBR. These are the 6 books that I would like to read in the month of April. I am by no means a like strict rule person, so if I don't read all these books, that's fine too. If I put pressure on myself, like I'm never gonna read again, so why make some really aggressive system out of reading your books? So this is just kind of like a guideline by which I would like to follow, and if I read them, I'll come back at the end of the month and review them, and if I don't, they'll still be on my shelf waiting for me another day. So I hope you liked this video. If you got anything out of it, let me know. I mean, it's kind of weird to be talking about books that I haven't read yet, but I don't know. I thought maybe you guys would enjoy diving into the process by which I pick my books. Until next time, bye!